can start.
Yes, Andrew Prabhu can do that. He's the host.
Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaurani Pacharani Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschati Deshatari Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasa
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna,
Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Sankirtana Yagya ki Jai, Bhakti Vinoda Thakur Abhyase ki Jai, Prabhupada ki Jai, Samavita Gaur Bhakti Vinoda ki Jai.
Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai. Thank you for the wonderful kirtan. With us today is His Grace Shubha Vilas Prabhu and his wife Manjuli Priya Mataji, Manjulali Priya Mataji. And I just want to tell a little bit to you about them. I had the opportunity to have Shubha Vilas Prabhu's association, I think for about a year in Fort Myers when I was living there. And I think your screen froze, Prabhu.
I'm here, Prabhu. I'm connecting from the other phone. So
okay, from the other phone. Okay.
Changing the location.
Yes. So when I was in Fort Myers, then at that time Prabhu was not married. He had just come to America, and one of the very special qualities that he has is he lives this verse Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, which is that when he was married and when he wasn't married, in both circumstances, one thing that was very impressive about his devotional life is that every single day he reads Srimad Bhagavatam. And he has a Srimad Bhagavatam group, a study group, where they meet every single day. During the weekdays, it's in the evening, and during the weekends, it's in the morning. And his whole life is dedicated to this reading of Srimad Bhagavatam. Actually, Prabhuji, I think he can allow you, but also just so you know, our lectures go on YouTube. So once this is over, there'll be a YouTube link where it will be readily accessible to everyone. So maybe that's why Andrew Prabhu is unable to allow you to, because there's some software that he has. So actually, we just started this last week. This is for all the attendees also, in case you missed something or you want to go back to it. All the lectures are now available on YouTube, and we share the link every time after the Sunday program. So Prabhu has been reading Srimad Bhagavatam continuously for many, many years. He's a disciple of His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj. And so when he came to Fort Myers, he was single, as I mentioned. And then soon after that, he had the wonderful arrangement of being married to his wife, who's also a very stalwart devotee. And now both of them are settled in a place called Punta Gorda, Florida, which is about half an hour from Fort Myers, and it's an hour and a half from Tampa, Florida. And Shubha Vilas Prabhu, he preaches in Tampa, Florida. Punta Gorda is a small place. So in Tampa, which is an hour and a half away, he's preaching there. And when I was there, I distinctly remember the Tampa Yatra was a very small yatra. They used to meet regularly in their home, 5 or 6 families. And um, Prabhu joined forces with them, and together they just, I mean, now the Tampa Yatra, it's like so amazing. Um, the things that they're doing there, and the festivals that they have. On Janmashtami Day, they shared about 150 plates of Krishna Prasadam to their congregation. In spite of all the coronavirus outbreak that was happening in Florida, they packaged it and they took it to people's homes, dropped it outside their house. And he was, you could say, um, planning all of these things and working with the devotees there. And every single week, when the coronavirus, of course, is not there, he was driving to Tampa and preaching. So a great source of, you could say, spiritual inspiration for the Tampa community. And now he's decided to share some of his time with us on this very auspicious and holy occasion of the appearance day of Bhakti Vinoda Thakur. So it's actually a very auspicious day, and Prabhu will be enlightening us about this and other topics as well. So thank you, Prabhu. Please take the mic and lead us forward.
Hare Krishna. Praise Gopal Hari Prabhu, and to all the Vaishnavas, please accept my humble obeisance. All these kind words are just basically a sign of Prabhu's nature to see good, and a sign for me too, so that I can take these instructions as instructions of my spiritual master and try to work on them. Just a quick check, can everyone see the screen? Okay, perfect.
Yes.
So first of all, I want to thank the devotees for giving me this chance, and it is for my own purification, because in the last few days I was reading and hearing about Srila Bhakti Vinoda Thakur. I would certainly say that I benefited a lot by getting to know about the great Paramahamsa Acharya in our Gaudiya Vaishnava Parampara. And so it's a great blessing for me to get this opportunity, and I feel so fortunate. And I also feel very, very safe, although I am a very, very neophyte in the path of bhakti. But all of you are like my elder brothers, sisters, who will correct if I make many mistakes. So I feel very safe in all of your company, who will correct me if I make any mistakes in my presentation, or if I speak something wrong, not aligned as per Guru Sadhu Shastra. So as we all know, today is a very, very auspicious day. It is the appearance day of Srila Bhakti Vinoda Thakur, who is one of the very important personalities and acharyas in our Gaudiya Vaishnava Parampara. So I would like to seek all of your blessings so that we can read, hear, discuss something about this great personality and purify our consciousness, purify our heart, and take some inspirations, because we have heard a lot about Prahlad Maharaj, Dhruv Maharaj, Yudhishthir Maharaj, but one may say, well, these are, from the bygone ages, or from the previous yugas, or from the previous manvantaras. We want someone practical. We are all grihasthas, most of us. We want someone practical. So Bhakti Vinoda Thakur is a perfect example in the contemporary phase. 150 years back is still like kind of contemporary. We're not talking about some previous yugas. We're not talking about some previous kalpas or different planets or different Satyuga. We're talking about Kali Yuga. We're talking about the present situation. So before we begin, I'll just offer my humble obeisance to all the Vaishnavas. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyev cha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Om Jnanatimidandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaya Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha. Mukam karoti vachalam pangu langyate girim yat kripatamaham vande Shri Guru Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Hare Krishna. So this is talking about Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur in this limited time we have is quite difficult, and the most of the content I'll be sharing is I heard on the 100th disappearance day ceremony anniversary of Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur, which was in 2014. His Holiness Bhakti Rasamrit Maharaj gave a series of 3-day seminar on this topic. So that's the foundation for whatever I'll be sharing. And since I heard that everyone likes to engage and interact, so we will read this pranam mantra before we begin our discussion. Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Satchidananda Namine Gaura Shakti Swarupaya Rupanuga Varayate. Would someone like to read the translation of this wonderful prayer to pranam mantra in English?
I will, Prabhu.
Yes, please.
I offer my respectful obeisances under Sachinanda Bhakti Vinod, who is transcendental energy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He is a strict follower of the Goswamis headed by Srila Rupa.
Thank you so much for reading. So Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur, also there's a famous book called The Seventh Goswami by His Grace Rupa Vilas Prabhu, which is, he's done a lot of research. Of course, I have not read the book per se, but I've heard multiple lectures which are from that book. So in the eternal spiritual realm, Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur is Kamala Manjari, who is an assistant to Rupa Manjari, and that's what in the Pranam Mantra also, it says Rupa Nugavarai. He's a strict follower of the Goswamis headed by Rupa Goswami. And of course, all the Gaudiya Vaishnavas are said to be as Rupa Nugas because we're all following Srila Rupa Goswami or Rupa Nugas. We're also said Prabhupada Anugas. We're following Srila Prabhupada. So with this as the foundation, to purify our ears and consciousness on this special day, Acharyas are very, very merciful. Let's begin our journey into the life and teachings and pastimes of Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur. So this is our Parampara line, and our Parampara line is primarily Shiksha line. So let me take a quick quiz. Who was the spiritual master, or in the Parampara, who is the spiritual master of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur? Who would answer that? Who is the spiritual master of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur?
Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj.
Very nice, Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj. And who is the spiritual master of Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj?
Bhakti Vinod Thakur.
Bhakti Vinod Thakur. Now a question is there, was Bhakti Vinod Thakur the Diksha Guru of Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj or Shiksha Guru of Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj? He was a Shiksha Guru. He was a Shiksha Guru. So coming back to this, so our Srila Prabhupada, Abhicharanarinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, his Diksha Guru and of course Shiksha Guru, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and then his spiritual master, Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj. He was of course the Diksha Guru. Then Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur. Srila Bhakti, let me use a pointer just to. So Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, Shiksha Guru was Bhakti Vinod Thakur. And Bhakti Vinod Thakur's Shiksha Guru was Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj. Bhakti Vinoda Thakur's Diksha Guru was Vipin Bihari Goswami, who is in the line of Janava Mata. And Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj was the grand Diksha disciple of Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj. Lot of names, sorry if it's too complex, but the point I want to convey here is that our line is primarily Shiksha line. So in 1838, the birth pastime of Srila Bhakti Vinoda Thakur, the Acharyas don't take birth. He's an eternal Kamala Manjari, as we just discussed, the eternal servant of Srila Rupa Goswami, Rupa Manjari. But they come at the right times. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata vyutthanam adharmasya tadatmanam srajamyaham. So whenever there is decline in the religious principles and an uproar of the irreligious principles, the Krishna himself appears, or Krishna appears through his devotees, or is empowered devotees. Krishna sends his empowered souls to re-establish the principles of pure bhakti. So just to give some background again, in the Gaudiya Vaishnava history, there were 4 dark ages or 4 dark periods. One was at the time before Lord Chaitanya appeared, because Vaishnavism was pretty much lost, and then Advaita Acharya was praying intensely for the appearance of the Lord. And the Lord appeared and established the Yoga Dharma, Yagyai Sankirtana Prayajanti Sumedasa. And at that point, there were thousands and thousands of genuine disciples or followers of Srila, the Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and then the 6 Goswamis, who further elaborated Gaudiya Vaishnavism. So the next dark period came in the Gaudiya Vaishnava history was after the 6 Goswamis disappeared. There was again a dark period. So we're talking about 400 years back approximately. Lord Chaitanya appeared about 500 and plus years back. So about 400 years, again a dark phase came. And then Krishna sent his empowered souls like Narottam Das Thakur, Shamanand Pandit, Srinivas Acharya, Rasikanand Acharya. And then they re-established those Gaudiya Vaishnava principles again. The third dark period came when these great acharyas, namely Narottam Das Thakur, Srinivas, Shamanand Prabhu, etc., again departed. So the third dark period, and then came Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. We sing the Samsara Dhavanali, that's written by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. And then Baladev Vidya Bhushan. Then after their disappearance was the 4th dark period in early 1800s approximately. And then who appeared? Srila Bhakti Vinoda Thakur. And at that point, there were 13 Apasampradayas. Apasampradayas means deviant sects like Sakhi Beki, Gauranga Nagari, and Prakriti Sahajya. And basically, they were imitating the topmost Radha Bhav in a deviant way, like men dressing as women and saying, "Oh, I am a gopi," and dressing as gopis, or imitating like Sahajyas, Aula, Baula. Till date, there is Kirtan called Aula Kirtan, Baula Kirtan, etc. Basically, Gaudiya Vaishnavism had a very, very bad image. Like imagine, under the name of these gopis and the name of Sakhi Beki, they were just doing nonsensical things on the name of Harinam, on the name of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. And intelligent people did not like it. A mature person would not appreciate it because purity is the force. Just dressing as gopis will not make one a gopi, will not have that consciousness of the topmost love of gopis, dressing as gopis. Just dressing as Vaishnava will not make one Vaishnava. It's a very important lesson. Because bhakti is, Prabhupada said, Krishna consciousness. It is the consciousness which makes one a devotee. And of course, that does not mean that we dress like what we want. Externals are important, but that's not the prime thing. So Bhakti Vinoda Thakur appeared in 1838. And we will quickly go through his journey of life. Of course, there is a lot of detail, but we will not be covering each and every point in the interest of time. At the age of 2, he composed his first poem. Can we imagine? At the age of 2, he composed his first poem. At the age of 6, he was admitted to the school, and he already knew all the pastimes of Mahabharata and Ramayana. Just for information, Mahabharata has 100,000 verses and Ramayana has 24,000 verses. So he knew all the pastimes, all the leelas of Mahabharata and Ramayana. At the age of 7, he went to Krishnanagar school, and later he went to the English school. At the age of 9, he studied astrology. But he understood it is so dry. There is nothing essence in there. So he studied and then rejected also. I mean, in this day and age, studying astrology for big people is like a postdoctoral subject. But that Bhakti Vinoda Thakur did at the age of 9. So then later, he continued his education. At the age of 18, he moved to Calcutta University. It was an English university, and British rule was going on in India. For those who may not be familiar with the Indian history, at that point, the British rule was going on until 1947. And just before his grandfather left his body, but he said that Kedarnath Dutt, that was Bhakti Vinoda Thakur's childhood name, will be a great Gaudiya Vaishnava. These were his words before his grandfather left his body. So let's see what happens next. Somehow my screen is frozen. Okay. So after that, in 1858 until 1866, then he was in Odisha. So we see in his life, he moved quite a few places between Bengal, Kathak, Odisha, and then later he started travel also. But earlier, he was a school teacher, or a teacher in Kathak district. And then because of his extraordinarily academic record, and he was given this service as a government servant. Now imagine at that point, even until date in India, people have this lot of like, take this with pride. Like in India, if you go back like 30 years, people would write outside their door, government servant, even till 30, 40 years back, that, oh, he's a government servant. I mean, that's a very big, prestigious thing. And now take it almost in 1866, which is almost 150 years before. At that point, getting government service in the English era, in the British rule, was not a small thing. And he didn't have just an ordinary service, he was a magistrate, a district magistrate in the Cuttack district. And at that point, he started to study the Gaudiya Vaishnava literatures also, and wrote the Bhagavat, the epic, and the theology. And many of his books also, went till like in Canada, in the McGill University. He sent the books at that point. There were hardly any resources. Technology was certainly not as developed as it is now, 150 years back. So, but Bhakti Vinoda Thakur, exemplary life, exemplary devotee, exemplary employee, exemplary preacher, exemplary acharya, exemplary in reading, writing, sharing. We will study so many of his pastimes. And then 1874 was the birth year, the appearance of another great acharya, Bimala Prasad. That was the childhood name of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And that was also, and during this time, because of his extraordinary abilities and managerial skill, he was also given the tenure to be in the administration of Shri Mandir, or Jagannath Puri temple. So he did extraordinary services in Puri. I'm going to skip some pastimes in the interest of time, how he helped there was a pseudo gurus like Bishak Sain declaring himself as Mahavishnu and doing Rasa Leela and this, but ultimately there was a person called Ravan Shaw who was the authority in the Kathak, and he was an English person. He took help of Bhakti Vinoda Thakur. So then the great lesson is that we should always have good contacts and favorable contacts with the people. We should not say, hey, you are non-devotee, you are a rascal, you are this, you are that, and I don't have anything to do with you. Because we need support from different kinds of people to run our Krishna conscious society. We need and everyone is devotee. Even if someone is helping to make like favorable, like giving some land or giving some permits to do Rath Yatra, etc., that's a great. They're also devotee in their own way. They're helping to spread the Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement. Ultimately, Bhakti Vinoda Thakur, put this person in jail, and there was a lot of opposition, but finally his hairs were chopped off, and then he died. And then Bhakti Vinoda Thakur started to study Kedarnath, started to study the Gaudiya Vaishnava literatures, the Sat Sandarbhas of Jeev Goswami, the Chaitanya Charitamrita of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, Govinda Bhashya, Bhakti Ratnakar, Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. He studied all this in great detail, and it's another great lesson. After studying, preaching is a now natural outcome. So he started the Bhagavad Sansad in the Orissa. So His Grace Vishishika Prabhu mentioned that preaching is natural outflow of excess. So when we study nicely, when we read nicely, when we chant nicely, we will naturally feel inspired to share. Bhakti Vinoda Thakur is sharing that. So he started, of course, this picture is of Prabhupada. This is, but just to I like putting pictures along with the text, which it makes a difference, I feel, so preaching. And then later he had a tutor also, Gopinath Pandit. So another great lesson which I feel that we should not feel, hey, I have not learned Kartal and I'm 40 years old or I'm 50 years old. I don't know even how to play Kartal. It's fine. If we have desire, Krishna will arrange it. Bhakti Vinoda Thakur also was learning Sanskrit. He felt that I need to brush up my Sanskrit more, Vyakaran, etc., to grammar, to read better, understand better. So even at the age of almost like 40 years, he was learning. So that's a sign of in Gaudiya Vaishnavism that if you want to learn Mridanga, or if you want to learn cooking, if you want to learn singing, dancing, anything which is connected to Krishna, why not? Why do we stop at any like 20 years, or we don't need to stop? But at that point, there was a person named Raghunath Das Babaji. It is not Raghunath Das Goswami of the Shad Goswamis. That's in early, in 1600s. But this is another person who didn't like Bhakti Vinoda Thakur and said that, hey, you don't have even Kantimala, you don't have even Vaishnav Tilak, and you are preaching Bhagavatam, you are speaking Bhagavad Katha. So at that point, that Bhakti Vinoda Thakur didn't say anything. That's another great lesson, that no one feels, that a Vaishnava never feels that, hey, you have offended me. But Krishna will take it seriously. Krishna will not like his devotees to be offended. So that Babaji, Raghunath Das Babaji, got serious illness. Very grave illness he got, and ultimately Lord Chaitanya appeared in his dream and told about the Vaishnava Aparadh which he had committed. So two lessons: that we should not judge others based on their externals. They may be not wearing Kantimala, or they may come to the temple in normal clothes, in shirt, pant, etc. But we should never judge a person on their externals. Krishna will never tolerate that. The devotee, as a devotee, we should tolerate if someone says something harsh to us. That's our test of humility. But Krishna will not tolerate that. I just want to do a time check, Prabhu. Actually, if I continue with this pace, I don't know where we will go. But so I'll have
Prabhu,
to.
we started a little late. So you can go 15 minutes more than what we had.
Okay.
So go till until like 1 o'clock at least.
Okay,
Then
sure. Thank you. So then 1874, Okay, quick quiz just to see everyone is active. What was the special thing in 1874?
He became magistrate. I mean,
Became magistrate, he was before.
yeah, Bimla Prasad born.
Yes, Bimala Prasad was born. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur was born in 1874. And that was his last year as in the Bhakti Vinoda Thakur's last year in the Jagannath Puri's temple's administration. And he did a lot of work, of course. Going in detail is not, you know, maybe some other day, but he did a lot of good management, good leadership to help the temple grow and outreach. In 1874, basically, he was transferred now. After Bimala Prasad's birth, he was transferred, but he continued his government service. In India, there is, even in US, I think there is like you may transfer from one company branch in, let's say, Indiana to Florida or New York. So same government service continued, but in Bengal. And in 1880, he began his travels. So it was the first time Bhakti Vinod Thakur, Kedarnath Datta, went to Vrindavan. And that was the first time he met his Shiksha Guru, Jagannath Das Babaji. And Jagannath Das Babaji gave him a Giridhari Shila. It is not very clear that it was the first meeting or some other meeting, but yes, Jagannath Das Babaji gave him a Giridhari Shila. This is the Shaligram Shila. In 1882, he moved to Calcutta and he built a home called Bhakti Bhavan. Then, during the construction of that special home, a deity of Kurmadev, the tortoise incarnation of the Lord, was found, and he gave it to Bimala Prasad, his son. He had 10 children. So for those who feel that how do we manage bhakti with children, Bhakti Vinoda Thakur had 10 children. So in 1882, he visited Mayapur for the first time in Navadvip. And in 1885, he started the printing press in Brihat Mridanga, also named it as Chaitanya Yantra, because it is a way to outreach. Brihat Mridanga, it's a big Mridanga. A Mridanga will sound maybe till 10 feet, 20, 30, 40 feet, not more than that. At max, even if we have like loudspeaker, 1 mile. But books, even at that point, his books went all the way to Canada, Montreal, McGill University. In 1886, he started the Vishwa Vaishnava Rajya Sabha and also met the Ramakrishna Paramhamsa, who at that point was another great teacher, but he was in the line of impersonalism. So his journey continued. In 1886, he went to travel to Tarakeshwar, which is a place of Lord Shiva. In India, there are multiple temples of Lord Shiva. And Lord Shiva told him, Lord Shiva in the divine voice told him that, why are you going to Vrindavan? You're desiring to go to Vrindavan, but Navadvip is so close. It's not very far. What you have done for Lord Chaitanya's mission in Navadvip. So Lord Shiva, Vaishnavana Mitha Shambhu, told him personally. And then Bhakti Vinoda Thakur took that as an order as life and soul. And it's not 18899, it's like 19 is extra. 1889, his job got transferred by Krishna's divine will to Krishnanagar. Now Krishnanagar is just like 15 minutes from Navadvip or Mayapur. And then he was in Krishnanagar and visiting Mayapur. And then he saw this extraordinary illumination of, this picture is very, very good actually. He saw this extraordinary illumination coming, and his son Kamala Prasad, another son of Bhakti Vinoda Thakur, was there. And later, through documentary evidence, and then Jagannath Das Babaji also came. In his ecstasy, he jumped from his basket. He was very, very, Jagannath Das Babaji, Bhakti Vinoda Thakur's guru, was very old. But as soon as he came to this place, which was the birthplace, Yoga Pitha of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and earlier, due to some other political reasons, some people were saying, hey, this is not the right place. for getting more money and more donations. But Bhakti Vinoda Thakur was the one who actually re-established the right place of and identified Yoga Pitha, the Bhakti Vinoda, the Lord Chaitanya's birthplace. So very, very special contribution Bhakti Vinoda Thakur has in our Gaudiya Vaishnava parampara. So in 1890, then he met the Lord in Godrum Dweep. As you know, that Mayapur, Navadweep means, Nava means 9, Dweep means island. It has 9 islands. So 1890, he met Jagannath Das Babaji in Kulia. So it appears that Jagannath Das Babaji had moved from Vrindavan to Mayapur. In 1891, he went to Calcutta and did ecstatic kirtans. 1892, he went again to Raja. In 1894, he retired from the government service. So this is a picture of Surabhi Kunj. He built a home. It is still there. It is called Surabhi Kunja. And in 1896, Jagannath Das Babaji, his guru, disappeared. But in 1899, in Godrum itself, he built another home or Bhajan Kutir, which is called Swananda Sukhadabal Kunja. I mean, if you go to Mayapur, Godrum Dweep, all these places are present. These are all holy tirthas. So he continued to travel, and Gaur Kishore Das Babaji would come. And later in 1896, he predicted that devotees from all over the world, Germany, France, Russia, America, would come and do the Sankirtan in the land of Mayapur. And that's what we see. Lord Chaitanya chose Srila Prabhupada to fulfill that vision, that prediction of Srila Bhakti Vinoda Thakur. In 1908, he accepted the Babaji Vesha. And in 1914, on the Tirobhav Tithi of Srila Gadadhar Pandit, who is an incarnation of Radharani, Bhakti Vinoda Thakur winded up his pastimes. So this is a very, very brief kind of like discussion about his life, and let's now hear some leelas as well, because philosophy and numbers, I mean, I'm sorry if I confused you with a lot of dates, but I just thought to put it. It gives a perspective that we should also focus on timely retirement. Bhakti Vinoda Thakur is teaching a lot. We should not work till the fag end of our life at 70 years or 75 years. Many people this day that they die in office. So Bhakti Vinoda Thakur showed how to take care of family, how to take care of his office and bhakti and sadhana, seva. During his tenure, he also showed that how an expert manager should be. So few qualities of Bhakti Vinoda Thakur in expert managerial and leadership skill. So number one, strong devotional qualities. And that comes from good sadhana. Yasya, what is the word? Vasudeva Bhagavati Sarve Gunai Tatra Samasate Sura. All the divine qualities come in the person who has good sadhana, good seva attitude. So our chanting, reading, hearing will naturally lead to good devotional qualities. And then very, very kind and caring towards everyone. Everyone, because people have different backgrounds. He was dealing with the British, and he was also dealing with devotees. He was dealing with non-devotees. He was dealing with pseudo-gurus. But he would always inspire, following this mood of the Shad Goswamis. Dhir adhira priyajano. Gentle to the, very kind to the gentle and the ruffians as well. Always inspiring each and every one to grow more in Krishna consciousness. And he had expert management skills as well. And as a leader, he was able to inspire and encourage others. And His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj recently gave a class in which he mentioned 3 things every devotee should take care. Number 1 is our own personal spiritual growth, our personal sadhana, our reading, our hearing, our chanting. Number 2 is the community. Every devotee is living in a community, whether it's in Indiana, whether it's in Florida, whether it's in Delhi. So to nourish that community of devotees, it's like a family. And in family, there are always some miscommunication, even in our small family between husband and wife or children or parents. There could be miscommunication. There could be some misunderstanding. That doesn't mean we reject the family. We say, okay, now goodbye forever. We don't do like that. We try to sort it out through, and forgive and forget and continue moving. Uh, so even in our Vaishnava community, that's a very, very essential principle to continue to be part of solution, to continue to nourish and nurture each other, help each other. We all need each other to grow in Krishna consciousness. And then number 3 is to collectively to inspire new people, to grow this community so that we can grow our family of devotees and inspire more and more devotees to come. So that's what Srila Bhakti Vinoda Thakur is showing by his example. The keeping Krishna as the center, balancing the family. He had 10 children. Vimala Prasad, this is the left, top left, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And 10 children, not an easy thing. He had a very highly reputed job. He was very great in his sadhana, and of course, sharing Bhagavatam, reaching out to others. So, epitome of humility. The government, built a railway track from Krishnanagar to Gudrum Dweep, to his home, so that he can, it will take less time for him to travel. It was personally, the only purpose of this track was so that Bhakti Vinoda Thakur could easily go to the office. Now, who of us is in such a position that our employer will say, hey, here's a car which is exclusively dedicated to you, and here's a driver, he'll come to your home and pick you up and bring you to your office so that you can focus that journey time and make it more easier for you. And now getting car is still, maybe some may have, but getting a railway track, it's not a easy thing. Now there's a very nice story. This track was there, time passed by, and many people started to use this train because it's a train. Many people, and Indian trains, how they work. You may have at least seen some videos or like how they're overpacked. So one time the train was overpacked and Bhakti Vinoda Thakur had no place to kind of sit properly. And keep in mind, this is train which is designed, which is specifically done for him so that he can easily do his duties. And the cases which other people would solve in hours and hours, Bhakti Vinoda Thakur as a magistrate would in just 15-20 minutes solve a case, which would take others hours to solve. So the train was fully packed. And what did Bhakti Vinoda Thakur do? He just sat down on the surface of the train, on the floor of the train. Just imagine. He didn't say, like, I was just thinking, what an ordinary person or a person who is puffed up with false ego like me would do. He'll say, hey, do you know, by the way, you're all taken these seats. Why did the government start this train? It is for me, and you have taken all the seats, and you're not giving such a respectable person like me who is the cause of this train being started. And you are all taken, at least have some respect, some sense. He didn't say all that. He's an epitome of humility. He just sat down on the floor. I was so amazed with this wonderful lesson. Another sweet pastime. Bhakti Vinoda Thakur was one time with his son, Srila Vimala Prasad, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and suddenly he just collapsed. Bhakti Vinoda Thakur just collapsed, and Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur could not understand what is this going on. And after about 10-15 minutes, then he came back in his consciousness and he asked, oh Father, what happened? He said, well, demigods had called me to explain this verse 9.30 of Bhagavad Gita, Apicheta Duracharo. So we're talking about the eternal Kamal Manjari. We're not talking about some ordinary person. So even demigods had invited in the upper planetary systems Srila Bhakti Vinoda Thakur to explain this topic of Bhagavad Gita. So I really like this pastime. Look at the writings of Srila Bhakti Vinoda Thakur. He wrote more than 100 books. There's not one song. There's like Sharanagati, which has many, many songs. Gitavali, which has many, many songs. He didn't write one song. We would appreciate that when we try to write one article. It will take us weeks to write one article. What to speak of writing, reading Srila Prabhupada's books, reading these books is a very big ordeal for us. These are just some of the books he wrote, some of the commentaries he wrote, some of the songs, a series of songs he wrote. And we already covered this, like how there was people were kind of totally, Gaudiya Vaishnavism had taken a dark turn before the arrival of Bhakti Vinoda Thakur, but Bhakti Vinoda Thakur completely revolutionized that. Maybe someone can read this schedule of Srila Bhakti Vinoda Thakur. Would someone like to read the schedule? This is really inspiring. Anyone?
Prabhuji, I'll read. It'll be good for me. It'll make me more scheduled. So his time, 8 to 10 p.m., rest for 2 hours. 10 p.m. to 4 a.m., right. 4 a.m. to 4:30, rest. 4:30 a.m. to 7 a.m., chant japa. 7 a.m. to 7:30 a.m., correspondence. 7:30 a.m. to 9:30 a.m., study shastras. 9:30 a.m. to 10 a.m., bath prasadam, half liter milk, fruit, 2 chapatis. 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., court duties. 1 p.m. to 2 p.m., 1 p.m. to 2 p.m., refresh at home. 2 p.m. to 5 p.m., court duties. 5 p.m. to 7 p.m., translate Sanskrit Shastras to Bengali. 7 p.m. to 8 p.m., bath prasadam. I can't read below that. You can finish.
So thank you so much, Prabhuji. The idea is that his life, there was no time for wasting. On a daily average, you would sleep for 3 hours, absorb in writing for 8.5 hours, japa and study of shastras for 4.5 hours, and work for his office duties for 6 hours. So of course we cannot imitate this. We will go crazy. Just taking 3 hours of sleep may not, or certainly, I mean, it's not that we are saying that one should start following this, but the idea is that we should regulate our eating, sleeping, reading, writing, services, office duties. Doing under a certain level is bad, and overdoing is also bad. Like if we sleep too less, we will become crazy, and if we sleep too much, we'll get lazy. Same with eating. If we eat too little, like everyday fasting, we may not have the energy to do services. But if we eat too much, we will also become lethargic. Same with the other services and other aspects of life. So the idea is that we must set some timetable and taking inspiration. We can take inspiration. We cannot imitate, but we can take inspiration. On this special day, we can just absorb ourselves in prayers and gratitude to Srila Bhakti Vinoda Thakur, who did so monumental efforts in re-establishing, taking us out of the dark age and giving the pure Krishna consciousness. So that's about Srila Bhakti Vinoda Thakur. And I was also told to speak a little bit about Bhagavatam. So I'll just briefly share some glories of Bhagavatam, because Bhagavatam is a very, very big topic. So Bhagavatam, we discuss about the person Bhagavatam, Bhakti Vinoda Thakur. Let's talk about the book Bhagavatam, which is non-different from Krishna. When Krishna went back to his abode, he put all his energies in the book Bhagavatam. It is non-different. So Bha is Bhakti, one gets pure Bhakti, one gets Krishna consciousness. Ga is Gyan, one gets spiritual knowledge. And Va is Vyaktitva. That means one develops spiritual qualities. Sarve gunai tatra samasate sura. And Ta is Tattva. One will get clear understanding. Who am I? Who is Paramatma? What is my relationship? What is the Avatara? Bhagavatam talks about everything. It is this very nice verse. Will someone like to read this verse and then the English as well? Right here. Yes, please.
also it is saying Tulsi Kannam Yatra Yatra Pada Vanani Cha Punya Pathanam Yatra Tatra Sannito Hari. Whenever there is an abundance of the Tulsi plants growing, wherever there is an abundance of the lotus is growing, and wherever Srimad Bhagavatam is being narrated, Lord Krishna himself is personally present.
Wow. So wherever Srimad Bhagavatam is being narrated, heard, or kept, Lord Krishna is personally present. The book Bhagavatam and personality Bhagavatam are non-different if we approach with the right consciousness. A person who regularly hears or recites Bhagavatam delivers the forefathers of his wife, mother, and father. What could be a better gift to your wife, husband, or mother or father? If someone asks, what did you give to me? If your mother, father asks, okay, if you say, okay, I'm reading Bhagavatam. There's no better gift. Other gifts, okay, we're fine, giving some gadgets, giving some stuff. But this is the real gift we can give to anyone. Just by reading, they're getting so much benefit. We are getting so much benefit. It's another glories, especially for children. His Grace Vaisheshika Prabhu says, from reading and hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, children gain spiritual education that helps them to make the right moral decisions, spiritual decisions when faced with tough choices. And who could be a better example than Gopalari Prabhu, who is right amongst us. Their mother taught them Srimad Bhagavatam from the very young age, and we see them as such nice exemplary devotees in every aspect of life. So it really helps to make those right decisions, to build our character, other than engaging children with gadgets. And Bhagavatam is the best gift. Another quote by Srila Shishika Prabhu, that because Srimad Bhagavatam is directly Krishna himself, our founder Acharya, brought Bhagavatam to America, he brought nothing else. Prabhupada didn't come himself. Prabhupada said, oh, Bhagavatam is going, I'm just a carrier. I'm just a servant of the Bhagavatam. He only had like trunk loads of Srimad Bhagavatam because he knew that there is no greater wealth on this planet. And there is no wealthier family than the family that keeps Bhagavatam in their home. So this is what someone keeps there in home. What to speak of someone who regularly reads and recites with their friends, family members. There's another one. People leave behind, big property or some cash or currency or this or that for their children, material assets. However, the best asset to leave behind is Srimad Bhagavatam. Generations and generations will get benefit from that Srimad Bhagavatam. A lot more can be said, but in the interest of time, I certainly would like to stop here so we can take some reflections and questions, corrections. I may have, if I spoke something wrong, please correct me. And if something inspired you, this is all from our teachers, our Guru Parampara. I just read, heard, and presented in front of you. So thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to purify myself. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu, for your amazing, clear, and such a beautiful presentation. I know others will also have questions, so we'll let others ask. I also have some. Would anyone like to ask a question?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. It is lovely to hear you speak today. Something that you said that stuck out to me was that we need support from all kinds of different devotees. And I thought that was a very lovely way of putting things and really reassuring everyone that no matter where you are on the path of devotional service, your role still matters to someone. So I was wondering, I was surprised to learn that most of the line was through Shiksha gurus. So I was wondering if the process of developing a relationship with a Shiksha guru is different than Diksha, can someone who you find to be a friend, like a close friend, that you talk with and maybe study with in your community, could that someone also be a person who could be a Shiksha Guru to you? So thank you so much for the very informational talk today. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you so much on your reflection. Yes, absolutely. We need community of devotees. We need devotees at all levels. Some who are equal to us, some who are senior to us, some who take inspiration from us. We need at every level. We need. If we don't have that right balance, then we will feel ourselves isolated. And you know, when the maya of tiger, when the tiger is hunting a deer, which deer will it grab first? The deer which is isolated from the herd. So that the tiger of maya, if we are isolated from the rest of the devotees, then we will be caught up by the tiger of maya. And we will be going away from the rest of the group of devotees. So very important point you made. So yes, we should always have a good association to always keep inspiring us. And to your next point, yes, Shiksha Guru is someone who is senior to us in bhakti, uh, who is himself or herself practicing Krishna consciousness nicely, and leading a balanced life with maturity, and following the principles of Krishna consciousness. That one may not be a pure devotee, but one is sincerely trying to be a pure devotee. And one is, at least one can say that one is stable in one's in one's Krishna consciousness. So yes, to those devotees, it could be your, senior god sister. It could be your someone in your community whom you derive inspiration from. So absolutely, yes, they can be one's Shiksha Guru. And we must have, someone call it counselor, someone call it Shiksha Guru, someone call a special friend, someone call a well-wisher. All these principles basically tie to the same thing. That yes, we have someone to open up. As Rupa Goswami says, Bhuyam Akhyati Prichati. Because we all go through our ups and downs in material life as well as in spiritual life. Sometimes we feel very energetic in bhakti and sometimes we are quite low in bhakti. I'm talking about myself. Then we need someone who can help us, whom we can openly, if I have some difficulty, uh, it will not be discussed in the Bhagavatam class in front of 50 people, but I must discuss it so I can overcome those challenges. And that discussion is Guhyam. Guhyam means it's confidential. It's not a Bhagavatam class in front of 20 other people. It's one-to-one, more guidance. With the Diksha Guru, in most situations, it may not be possible. We will not call our Diksha Guru, that Guru Maharaj, what should I do now? They may have hundreds or thousands of disciples to take care. So in our ISKCON society, so we must have one or two close friends, counselors, mentors, Shiksha Gurus, whatever. And it's absolutely, we all need them, irrespective of wherever in our spiritual journey we are. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, any other, or I don't know how we're doing with the time. Any reflections, corrections, questions?
Prabhuji, oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay.
I mean, I don't have any question. I just wanted to say, like, Prabhuji mentioned lots of things about Bhakti Vinoda Thakur from his childhood and gave the sons also. I mean, sons in the sense like the timings of all these things. I have only one short, small question that you mentioned Mr. Ghosh somewhere while you were presenting the presentation. So, who is that? I mean, definitely, like, he has some relation with Bhakti Vinoda Thakur, but I don't know, like, before that I did not heard that his name, Mr. Ghosh. You mentioned in your first or second slide, I guess, around like 1938 to 1838 to 1858, between this time. He was mentioned there.
Sorry, Prabhu, I'm not sure if I understood your question correctly. So 1838 to 18...
You mentioned one name in your slide related to Bhakti Vinoda Thakur, Mr. Ghosh. So I don't know, like, who is he? Can you explain?
Yes. We passed a few things a little quicker because of the time. So his name was is mentioned here in when he was in Godrum Dweep. His name is referred as Ghosh. Yes, Shishir Kumar Ghosh, 1891. This Bhaktivinoda Thakur met him in Calcutta, and he was the person who named Bhaktivinoda Thakur the seventh Goswami because of the enormous works which Bhaktivinoda Thakur had done. So if we go back to the Shad Goswamis, the few main things which they were told by Lord Chaitanya is to excavate the holy places, to write books, and to preach by their example. And exactly that's what Bhakti Vinoda Thakur did. He excavated the holy places, like Lord Chaitanya's birthplace, Yogapitha. He wrote enormous volumes of Gaudiya Vaishnava literatures, songs, commentaries, and he gave basically the blueprint of what is, how to spread Krishna consciousness. So, and I feel that all of us should also take that inspiration. Now, discovering holy places means what? All the ISKCON temples are like holy places, and all of you are doing amazing work in building that ISKCON of Indianapolis. That's a holy place. We all must do, whether it's a small center or a big temple or Vaishnava farm community or cow protection. They're all holy places. Prabhupada's temples, Prabhupada's projects are all holy places. Then we may not be okay writing books, but in this day and age, more emphasis is on lectures, YouTube, and articles and web. So we have to dovetail our propensities in that, firstly by reading and hearing more and more, and then naturally sharing more and more. So we discuss preaching as a natural outcome of reading and hearing. And then by being a good example ourselves and nourishing that community and sharing out with others, that's preaching by example. So I feel that's like Lord Chaitanya's instructions for all of us, actually. Coming through Goswamis, coming through Bhakti Vinoda Thakur, Srila Prabhupada did the same thing. So yes, that was Shishir Kumar Ghosh in 1891.
Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna, thank you.
Prabhu, I was going to ask that oftentimes Srila Prabhupada and others have said how Bhakti Vinoda Thakur is the ideal grahastha. He's the saint who exemplifies the perfect householder. Like his son, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he was the ideal sannyasi. And Bhakti Vinoda Thakur had 9 children. And one of them was Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, a pure devotee of the Lord. In the schedule that you had given us, it seemed like he had a busy schedule. So how did he spend time with his family? Maybe there's something to shed light on that, or just anything about how we can, as householders, most of the people on the call are householders, how can we imbibe his example?
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. So basically, under the guidance of Guru Sadhu Shastra and through the current examples, we must divide our time or schedule, have a nice timetable. So time, basically he managed his family life, refreshing at home. We read that, and reading Bhagavatam. How did Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur become Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur? By seeing, because children see the parents. If the parents are watching TV, then we don't expect them to become Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. But the children would see that my father is an exemplary devotee. What did Prabhupada saw? Prabhupada saw, okay, my father is an exemplary devotee. So children just follow the parents. They saw that his father was completely absorbed. So yes, this is like, that's number one thing which we can learn, to be a good devotee ourselves. Then the children, then the husband, wife, parents, anyone who's connected. Preaching is 99% by example. And yes, in this day and age, like, earlier the family model was little different. Joint families, many children, many supporting hands. In this country, it may not be possible. People may have like, 2-3 members in their family, at max 4-5 members. That's maximum. I mean, so we have to adopt as per situations, but the principles are same. The principles is, yes, that we should have our sadhana, preferably with children, like reading, hearing, chanting. Some arati, encouraging them also to, okay, you do the incense, you play the bell, you play the kartal, so that they feel engaged, they feel is as a joyful practice. And spending time with reading stories of Bhagavad Gita. How did he learn at the age of 6 years? Certainly, his parents must have taught. So children, reading story. There are many nowadays. Now your mother is such a great example. There are books for children to easily understand Bhagavatam, because they may not be able to understand the traditional one, or because it is the vocabulary and it may be too much for them to comprehend. But they, through some games, through some activities, making bhakti fun for them, so the children can also take part. And yes, so I think by doing all these things, by being a good example, by having a nice schedule for one's own self and for the children, and trying one's best, learning from those who are successfully doing it, seeking their blessings, seeking guidance from them, I think we can still apply the principles which Bhakti Vinoda Thakur is teaching through his life. Please add.
Thank you, Prabhu. Very nice. Thank you. Any other thoughts, questions?
So I see wonderful devotees, and I think at this time and phase in the corona situation, so the physical meetings have pretty much stopped in most temples across the world, and but still it is, as Vishishka Prabhu says, every challenge is an opportunity. So this is a little challenging situation, but if we take it as an opportunity to grow more ourselves in our Krishna consciousness, at the same time, reach out to our friends, colleagues, well-wishers, or sometime, some may have come to Janmashtami once. I'm sure we must be having like databases in an organized way. If we coordinate our efforts, join our hands, you will see, we all will see wonderful efforts, wonderful results by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, by the mercy of Bhakti Vinoda Thakur. We can also pray to Bhakti Vinoda Thakur, please help us, guide us, so we can also reach out and firstly be a good example ourselves, and then more and more devotees can join our ISKCON Indianapolis community, and we can, that could be in our offering to Lord Chaitanya, to Srila Prabhupada, and to Bhakti Vinoda Thakur. What could be a better offering than that? So I'm sure we'll, with all of yours support and united efforts, miracles will happen.
Prabhuji, maybe you can tell us a few things that you're doing in that all of the devotees there are doing in Tampa.
So
I think it'll be nice for it'll be inspiring for us.
Few things is regular study of Srimad Bhagavatam together. Together, what His Holiness Radha Govind Maharaj said, that if husband and wife read together, if community of devotees read together, all their friction goes away, all their disagreements go away. So there could be some friction between husband and wife or brother and sister. Let's come together, stop all that, and read Bhagavatam. Everything else is gone. So that really helps, and we are helping each other to read Bhagavatam better. And some devotees do chanting together. That's also a nice thing. So even in this day, like how we are connected together, it's just a matter of we can use the technology. That's number one and most important, because when we nourish ourselves, then only we can help others. Then I feel that, people are waiting. His Grace Vishesh Prabhu says, people are waiting when will the messengers of Gaur Nitai come and knock their doors and say, hey, take this holy name. So now knocking the door may not be visible in this day and age. Knocking the door would be giving them a call, a phone call, or a message, WhatsApp, Facebook, etc. So that's knocking and checking on them. How are they doing? And being their genuine well-wisher. And then sharing as per the situations, as per the call proceeds, then you can, first everyone should list some names. Okay, I'll call these 3 people today. I'll call these 2 people today. Because if we don't plan nicely, we fail to plan, we plan to fail. So if I think like if all of the devotees, and that's what we are doing actually now. Like we got 160 names in our registration. The next step is what we are doing is everyone take like 5 to 10 names, because I can't call 160 people. I don't have that much energy, and so, but I would love to be in touch with at least 5 to 10 people. So if everyone can take, let's say you have 100 names in your database, and based on how people connect, someone could be more familiar with talking to someone, and someone could, so we take up 5 to 10 names and start to build a genuine relation with them. And our only goal is to seek their welfare, be their friend, help them, ask about their job, their studies, their family, their just being a genuine well-wisher, as as the Goswamis would do, dhira dhira priya jano, and then sharing with them about Krishna consciousness. They will feel so welcome. They will feel so happy, because in this day and age, no one has time for anyone. Everyone is in their own selfish cocoon. So if we reach out to them without any selfish agendas, our only agenda is the real self-interest, that is Krishna consciousness. But it will take gradual step. We cannot directly say, tomorrow chant, 16 rounds. That may be a little too much, but slowly building that relation, slowly. And when that relationship is built, they will eventually, take more and more. Another good way, which we really, in the Janmashtami program, we did fancy dress competition, reaching out to more and more people, and sharing on through Facebook, through friends, through, because we never know how that message would reach out to whom and how they would get connected. Now we have a Bhagavatam study group, and there are like 4 or 5 devotees who are connected whom I have never met physically. But through postings on, WhatsApp group and this group and that group, like I will share one personal incident. When I was in Rochester, I put a flyer for Bhagavad Gita reading in the Hindu temple, not ISKCON temple. We didn't have any temple, anything. So a person from Vermont, New Hampshire, which is about 5 hours, came to Rochester and he visited Hindu temple. And he saw that poster. And then he joined the call. Hey, I want to study Bhagavad Gita. I said, okay. And when whoever joins first time, I try to follow up. And this person is a motel owner. He has motels. And New Hampshire is a place where a lot of, skiing and snow is there. So a lot of tourists come. In all of his motel rooms, he took almost 150 Bhagavad Gitas eventually and put in all his motel rooms, and has a very, very genuine well-wisher, started to chant now. I know him. I have never physically met this person till date. Till date, I have never met him. We had some phone calls, we had some video calls, but I have never met this person physically. And then it's all by Lord Chaitanya's mercy. Because I had never anticipated this would happen, but Lord Chaitanya wanted this to happen. But we have to do our part, whether it is through calling, through messages, through reaching out in different ways. This person now is, coming regularly in Bhagavatam, is chanting, his family is chanting, and very, very now, pretty much, when considered regular ISKCON follower, and very, good donator also, and in every ways. And this is just one example. There are many, many such stories. So our job, our service is to just do our part, being an instrument. Lord Chaitanya will take care of the rest. Who am I to bring anyone to Krishna consciousness? Lord Chaitanya wants, that person will come. But did I do my part? That's what I have to see. If I'm doing my part, taking care of my sadhana, taking care of my family, my office, my health, and my preaching also. That should also be an element of our schedule. And why do we preach? We don't preach to purify others. We preach to purify our own self. Like, I'm so grateful that you gave me this chance. I had never heard about Bhakti Vinoda Thakur so much as I heard in the last 5 days. So you gave me opportunity to purify myself. And I am getting chance to further share, which is again purifying myself. So that's the whole objective of our outreach, to purify my own self. And then someone would ask, hey, you're distributing this Bhagavad. By the way, do you read it? Can you tell me about this? Then it will go deeper. It will go deeper. Well, I should study also nicely as I'm distributing Bhagavad Gita. I'm telling others, get up in the morning early and chant. I should also do that nicely. Because, a genuine person will have that sense that if I'm sharing something, I must follow it. So we are doing this for our own purification, and preaching is also an element of sadhana in that way. So these are some of the thoughts. Sorry if I went over time. Please.
No, this is very nice, Prabhu. Very actually inspiring. And we got some very wonderful pointers. And just hearing about Bhakti Vinoda Thakur was also very purifying. So I'm sure for you preparing it was, but for us hearing it, both the speaker, like to say, both the speaker and the listener get purified by this. Thank you so much for sharing your realizations with us. This has been recorded on YouTube, and with the Zoom world, not everyone's schedule matches with the schedule of the speaker and the program, but many more people will be hearing it on YouTube. Many people will be taking advantage of what you gave us today. It was very inspiring personally for me. Very, very wonderful. So now I'll unmute everyone, and or everyone can unmute themselves, and we can all give Prabhu a very loud Hari Bol, 3 very loud Hari Bols. Hari Bol! Hari Bol! Hari Bol!
People.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Thank you for tolerating me and accepting me in your wonderful company of devotees. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare Krishna.